Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 938. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Edmonton?
What?
And Chris in Edmonton.
Warren, after, 4 years of trying through pandemics and snowstorms, 3 years of trying.
2 pandemic, 1 snowstorm.
Right.
Finally, the weather gods acquiesced, and I flew here with no incidents whatsoever.
No, I know.
2 very stupid teenagers behind me. That was the worst of it.
That's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not fair to teenagers. These people were in their 20s, but sounded like teenagers. So, anyway, dum-dums.
All right.
Gen Zers, nevertheless, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Gen Alpha? What's the new one, Gen Alpha?
Right.
I don't know. I'm not going to keep track.
I want to say that back in the room that you're in, Warren, I'm guessing.
My parents' basement. It literally is my parents' basement.
I thought so. So I want to say that Chris's first ever episode with us, like episode like 53 or 4 or something, way back in 2007.
47.
You and I, Warren, were in that room.
That's possible.
And I can't remember if Chris, you were also there or
I don't think so.
Over Skype or whatever we were using at the time.
It would have been Skype.
I remember we recorded it in that very basement way back in 2007.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Well, here it is. It looks about the same as it did in 2007.
When Millie Gibson was 4 years old.
She was a foundling, in fact.
She was. I've never heard the term
neither
foundling
I'm like,
before.
what the hell?
I
thought they said youngling. I'm like, oh, that's got a bad backstory.
That's bad.
To it.
I know. And then like a foundling. I know. Like obviously, it's like someone who's found, but like I was thinking of foundry as in like orcs and Uruk-hais come from foundling ever did Lord of the Rings. So, yeah.
And then they made it sound like fondling and made that a good thing.
That's right. She made that joke about herself. So she made it though. So she made it. Anyway, we're here to talk about the church on Ruby Road, the Christmas special from 2023, or Special 4 if you're watching on Disney Plus. But still, I think probably the beginning of a very good jumping on point for anyone who's never watched Doctor Who before, I think, is this episode. There's no regeneration crisis. There's no backstory really to worry about. It seems like just a fresh new start, which is probably what Disney wanted all along, saying, can we dispense with the 60 years nonsense and just get on with the show?
All this crap as they push literal decades of history aside.
I mean, they just lost Mickey Mouse, so they're reeling, they're hurting.
They lost early Mickey Mouse.
Early Mickey Mouse. Yes.
Oh, is he public domain now?
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
So there's already a violent video game in the style of old timey Mickey Mouse. I think it's just called
I didn't
Mouse.
know that. Wow.
It looks like a lot of fun actually, but
right. Steamboat Mickey returns.
He is now public domain, whether I like it or not.
That's pretty great.
As of January 1st, yeah.
As of January the countdown's on. Countdown's on to Steamboat Mickey fanfic. All right, let's talk about
and number 1, Steamboat Willie. Number 2, I'm sure there's probably already fanfic, because why wouldn't there be?
I'm not going to check.
That's true. Officially licensed fanfic, aka Star Trek Lower Decks. Let's talk about the church on Ruby Road. Dr. Ncuti Gatwa's first proper episode of Doctor Who. Millie Gibson debuts. There's goblins. They sing. Doctor Who and Millie Gibson sing as well.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Warren, let's go. Let's start with you then, Warren. Since you're back home, what did you think about this sucker?
I did mostly enjoy it. It was, like you said, it's a good stepping off point. It's a lot of fun. There's I go with didn't like. The Goblin song is better in context than it is out of it. Right. It ain't good though. Like, I'm not a fan. And then I didn't hate the Doctor and Millie singing along because it made sense in the context of the thing, but I sure as hell didn't like it because that's my own personal nitpick. It bugs me. I've already gone on ad infinitum, and I'm just people in the comments will probably get mad at me, but musicals are not my jam. Sorry.
No, they're mine.
That's a minor part of the whole thing.
How does this in your mind compare to the musical Strange New Worlds?
I don't know because I'm never going to watch it. So there you go. And as I grabbed
I just had to poke at the bear.
Big old piece of red meat and just chew away at it. Yeah. Anyway, that's the stuff I didn't like. That's about it. It was a lot of fun. It's really cool seeing a doctor who's actually happy to be alive for once. Like Jodie Whittaker, you got a little bit of that. Like she was a little more, I don't know, sort of distant from all the morose brooding. But and so is the 14th Doctor in a way, but there's still the 14th Doctor's tied to all the rest of that stuff, so it's not quite the same. This is just like, well, this is a Doctor who's happy to exist, and just from the dancing scene, I'm like, yeah, this Doctor is having a good time, and I'm with him, having a good time with him. I thought he was charm personified, as we knew he'd be. Yeah. He was really good, like from the get go, and that's the way the episode's structured. He's just the Doctor. There's no blizz blaz or anything else. He just kind of shows up in his cool coat, and he shows up in his hat first, then his cool coat.
And then his vest.
And then his vest. And then, I know he had like 3 different outfits on. It's a doctor who changes clothes. It's like how revolutionary is that? It's very
somewhere in the world, Janet Fielding is yelling at the TV screen every time it happened.
Yeah, I mean that's a given whether or not Doctor's on TV. But Ruby's family is lovely, and I'm sure we will see more of them. They just seem like the grandmother, especially. I love her; she's great. And the whole runner of her never getting her tea. I thought that was fantastic, and getting more and more annoyed about it. That was great.
That was Cherry Sunday. That wasn't quite so sweet.
All right then. The goblins are kind of, even though they're the motivator of the whole thing, they're kind of superfluous, really. Like they're just kind of there. They're just, they're fine for what they are, but and there's some really good effects to them. There's some really, I already went over the song, so I'm not going to go over it again, but like all the crowd scenes are pretty impressive that they can pull that off. And then with the behind the scenes stuff, you see all the actual makeup and effects. That's all really good too. But what are these guys for other than to be random antagonists? That's kind of just what they are, right? And especially the Goblin King is just, big. He's kind of like he's got less personality than the one in The Hobbit. Who I don't like. That guy
like
sucks.
The Sycorax in the Christmas Invasion, huh?
Sycorax, your Autons and Rose. It's like, it's got like
your robot
random
Santas.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But they're just kind of like, but they're the reason this whole thing happens. But there's not much to them other than that, right? They're just kind of like there. Having said that, it gave Ncuti a chance to talk about ropes and luck and all that. And this is more RTD nonsense, and I've just made my peace with it. It's like, okay, he's going to say stuff that's not like the way I like Doctor Who to be, but fine. It's not going to kill me or anything to watch this. So I'm making it sound like I didn't like it. That's not true. I did like it. It was quite a lot of fun. So once again, they've gone on and on, or at least RTD and others have, about some amazing UK living legend is with us. And I'm like, I don't know who this lady is. I'm sure she's a big deal, but so, and she was fine. Like everybody
Dobson,
in this, and what's her name? Davina McCall, who I actually do know. She was good in it too. She's always good in this stuff. Like she's apparently a huge Doctor Who nerd. So.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Davina McCall wasn't in Doctor Who, but she voiced like the Big Brother UK bits of Bad Wolf. Is that where she's initially was in Doctor Who? Like
think so.
Or Chris is like going.
Chris would know better than I would.
Yeah, I thought she did a voiceover many years ago. But
brother, maybe
she might have.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know.
I forgot. Do add us. We're on the live stream. We're recording this live stream, so correct us. We've before we
the Davina droid, Davina bot.
No, that was Trini and Susanna.
That's right.
In the Captain Jack.
I thought it was Davina droid, but Davina bot.
Anyway, she was also in Dead Set. She was excellent in that, playing herself again, and as a zombie self. So I didn't have any problem with her showing up. I'm like, she's good at doing herself in these things, and it was, I didn't know these shows were a thing. The Foundling shows or just Who Are Your Parents shows. So it was kind of neat to see that, but it was a little surprising to see the companion on TV the first time you see her. I was like, what's going on here? Right. She's good. Millie Gibson is, I think, in the commentary. RTD, or maybe it's in the behind the scenes, it says that this is a 19-year-old and it really feels like a 19-year-old, not a 28-year-old playing a 19-year-old. And that is true. She really does come across as, in good ways, as somebody of that age discovering things for the first time.
There was definitely a different vibe to her personality versus Rose, who's also supposed to be 19.
Nothing wrong with people, 28-year-olds playing 18-year-olds. Like, I mean, that's a time-honored TV trope that sometimes works. But this was different and it was kind of cool. Yeah, and of course, Ncuti is awesome. Like, there is no getting around. He's the Doctor from the word go.
Chris, what are your initial thoughts then? Church on Ruby Road.
One more time.
The church on Ruby Road.
There you go.
Pedantry.
Yeah, like we're mostly positive, I guess. There's some some stuff that I could and probably will pick nits with, but
well,
but on the whole, it was silly. You know, it was going to be silly when you knew goblins were there, plus Christmas, and was it a good jumping on point, as you keep saying? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, as far as the whole Disney Plus side of things goes, with them calling it Special 4, casual viewers are probably going to want to seek out 1, 2, and 3, at least to a point, and therefore that stops this being their jumping on point and changes that to the Star Beast, which may or may not be as useful, but yeah, mostly positive. I'll get into more details later.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was fun. It was fluffy. I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but we were doing a Doctor Who Trivial Pursuit over on the Incomparable Network, and noted writer Anthony Johnston was on there, and he's not the biggest Doctor Who fan, which is why we had him along for this, because it was funny, not knowing. And he said that he sort of lost track with a lot of the Tennant stuff, but he watched the Christmas special every year because that's just what people in the UK do. The TV viewing in the UK, just so Christmas. Only till then did I realize that, wow, I guess the Christmas special is a bigger thing than we here in North America. We who don't know who Anita Dobson is because we didn't watch EastEnders get 30 million viewers on Christmas Day in 1988 or something like that.
To be fair, how many Brits did? How many younger Brits watching this special have no idea who Anita Dobson is? Maybe they do out of osmosis, but
that's true. That's true too. So when you Christmas specials are just interesting in that regard, because sometimes we place a lot of weight on them. We round out, Time of the Doctor is not at all an accessible Christmas special.
Oh, not in the least.
It's wrapping up an entire
same
story.
With End of Time. I mean, when you get right
same with End of Time. Same with Twice Upon a Time. Really, really the starting a whole new era is interesting on Christmas Day, because I think it really kicks things off. I think a lot of people hold Christmas Invasion kind of close to their hearts because it's David Tennant's first story, but it also starts this whole era. That's a great jumping on bit, I think, a little bit, unless you completely forget about the previous season.
Being in bed for half an episode.
That too, yeah. So it was fun to watch Ncuti Gatwa just run around and be Ncuti Gatwa and just start off. I always like Doctor Who stories where they're just there he is, he's right there. We don't know how much time has passed in between the end of the Giggle and to here.
Sometimes just because he spent a year with Houdini, apparently.
That could be any Doctor Who.
That could be from anywhere.
I suppose that's true. Yeah. I forgot to mention the little discussion with him and the cop was perfect. It was just perfect Doctor Who. I thought it was lovely.
So that's
really
interesting.
So I got total Gareth vibes from the TV movie.
I did too initially, and I was worried that he would do that, but no. Then he just he Sherlocks it and deduces that because the Sonic picked up the fact that he's got a ring and
that's what I loved about it. He goes 91% of guys wouldn't ask for that. I'm like, just all these rattling off all these facts. I'm like, that's some sweet Doctor Who action right there.
I
got total TV movie vibes from that, but Kat said she got Sherlock vibes. So
yeah,
I also got Sherlock vibes.
I want to bring that up. I was going to bring that up, but since you mentioned that, is fascinating because on the InVision commentary, Russell T Davies said that Disney, after some testing screening, said they wanted to see more of Ncuti Gatwa earlier in the episode. And so they inserted that scene. Now, I don't pay attention to set reports very closely. I've said that a lot now. But that scene that we saw was only shot 2 months ago. Well after the rest of the main episode, obviously. So they only shot that after Disney said, we want to see more Ncuti Gatwa. Now, I'm not saying they came back in October and said, we want this episode, because they wrapped, I think, in July for the previous production block, I think, the whole... And so they probably said, okay, we'll get a new, once we resume production in October, we'll do a scene. Because I think it was literally day 1 and 2 of the current production block was to shoot that insert scene. And so they did in October. Disney said, We want to see more Doctor Who, more of the actual Doctor in there. And Russell, it's okay. Yes, sir. How high do you want me to jump a little bit? And
I just found it charming. Nice and Doctor Who-ish.
Asking for more of the main character, that's a fairly reasonable request, I'd say.
I know. Going back to Christmas, could you imagine if Christmas Invasion was like the first of a Disney era? Thinking, why is the Doctor sitting in the bed for the first half of the episode? We need more of him.
He would have been awake more often, finding Satsumas in the housecoat pockets and whatnot than he was.
He would have been, yeah. So I just found that quite interesting. I like that scene. I thought it was a lot of fun. We got to see Doc. He introduces. I love how Erica pointed this out, I think, on the Flashcast, and to me personally, because we, lived together, and she told me this on the couch. Is that how about my name's a doctor. My address is that blue box right over there. And excuse me,
profession, not a doctor.
Yeah, excuse me, I want to go home. And he pointed at the box because that's his home. And I thought that's actually a really great introductory scene for anyone who's never seen Doctor Who before. That's where I live and that's my home, that weird blue box. And so I thought that was kind of cool. So I like that scene. I like Ncuti Gatwa. He's great. He's great as Doctor Who.
Sometimes it takes a little while to warm up to Doctor. It took me a while to warm up to Capaldi. Once I did, but this guy instantly from the word jump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did too. Him dancing in the club, I thought was pretty cool. He's just like he's having a ball,
happy as hell. That's great.
It's just a happy guy. Like I think what I like about what Ruby Sunday is attracted to him, not like sexually or anything like that, maybe a little bit, but how like he's dancing with no one. He's just sort of dancing. He's just out there on his own, dancing to music, having fun, but while still like keeping an eye on, like Ruby Sunday. Like it's not quite as stalkery as it. It would have been awful if he's just like brooding in the corner there, looking at Millie Gibson or something, waiting for her to drop a glass.
Tenanty, let's say.
A little bit, yeah, but no, Ncuti Gatwa was great. He handled the emotional scenes a lot more. I thought the crying scenes happened more naturally than perhaps other ones.
That's
they
true,
weren't.
Yeah. It just kind of snuck up on you, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they were like secondary. Like when he was like when he's talking to Ruby's mom, and why are you crying then? And then he's also crying, and I can't remember where if it was RTD saying this or was it Millie Gibson in the commentary about how like he's kind of like. He's crying, but he doesn't realize it. Like, the emotions are like secondary to what his intellectual. And I love how he just sort of sits there for, his tears are going, and then he sort of like, he pulls away and like starts to think about, wait a second, they stole, and then he figures it out in that moment. I thought it was just a really nice blending of using emotion and deduction to sort of to get to the bottom of the thing.
I appreciated that they paid off him already in tears at the start of the episode,
right?
At the church.
Oh, well, let's talk about that because Eric also mentioned this, and I've watched it a few times. I've kind of zapruded it a little bit. So when he first appears, there's a tear, like the first scene when he gets there, right? Gets out of the TARDIS, there's a tear going there, right? At the end of the episode, he comes out and there isn't a tear. Now, and then he does a couple other things, they cut away, and then he runs off and does things. What I'm saying is it's not the same take. Now, is it as simple as it's not the same take that they used
we got nailed by this previously, so maybe not.
This is why I'm saying this right now. Or is it actually a separate, different trip back in time where at the beginning of the episode he knows more, and that's why he's got a tear coming out of his eye, and compared to at the end of the episode when he's just going back to hopefully fix the situation. This is the Matt Smith missing coat potentially of series 5, and so I want to mention it here just in case in 2 years' time. It comes back, and we're
all this Who is Ruby's Mother stuff is obviously set up for the next season, right? And I'm saying it now. Yeah. That looked like Lady Vastra leaving that. It's Lady Vastra.
Lady
That's
Vastra.
Her mother.
Oh, Chris, do you have any thoughts on who the mother would be?
I don't. That's not serious, Chris. Before you,
no,
I'm sure it is not.
Because I've heard a few theories already. But
for the mother, my thought is it'll probably get paid off around about episode 7 or 8. But in the long run, I think I don't care. Insofar as the events happen, does it necessarily matter who she is, who they are?
Right.
No. I mean, it's still gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm not using this speculating.
Or I should say, it doesn't necessarily diminish the story or Ruby's story, whether the identity is revealed or not.
True. Right. Yeah.
That doesn't look like a very 2004 English person outfit. That looks like a space alien came visiting outfit.
Right.
Well, number one, just looking at the boots and the bare calves and whatnot.
Right.
If I'm going to say it's Ruby herself dropping
maybe
herself as a baby.
Entirely possible.
Bloodovich limitation effect be damned.
I know pants that don't go all the way down. Maybe that's Jodie Whittaker's daughter.
I was just going to say maybe that's Jodie Whittaker.
That's who
but
it
yeah,
is.
a lot of people are saying it. Hey, it's Jodie Whittaker. So it's 13. It's 13. Probably not.
No, it's probably not her.
Doctor Who fans have a bad case of grabbing whatever's from the past and just throwing it into making it more complicated than it needs to be with simple resources at hand. Let's put it that way.
Right. Obviously, let's get out of the way right now. Is it the Ronnie or is it Susan? We'll bring those two up later
Doctor's
on.
Mother Part 2 or Mark 2 with the things like this, the hands.
Oh, right.
We'll
What's her name?
One of those later, I'm sure. Yes.
Is it Tectayun?
Possibly.
It's Mr. Fusus.
Mr. Fusus.
Ruby is the Doctor's sister.
Yeah. Possibly. Well, I mean that might not be the mother, but you never know. We'll find out, I suppose. I'm not too broken up about it. I'm not.
No, they'll tell us when they want to. The end.
Yeah. If you zoom in here, it's probably unseen extra is probably who's wearing the hood right there. I don't think they would have flown in your actual guest star. Maybe it's Davina McCall. Maybe that's who it is. She was just after the ratings, and she traveled back in time to
impaled by
a
Christmas
tree. It said that was
tree.
shot in Newport, not Cardiff. So
I wouldn't have put it past, by the way,
but
RTD just letting Davina McCall die. Canonically die. I was kind of surprised when he saved her.
I would have thought about that, but anyway, what else we talk about? We talk about I like Millie Gibson too, as you were saying, Warren. She's just she's just a kid. She's like a 19-year-old playing a 19-year-old.
She's got an extra something or other. I don't know what it is, but there's a little extra something going on there that you don't get with the usual actors, even though she's acted for years.
Yeah, she has. She's I liked her relationship with her, her foster mom and her foster grandma. I thought that was pretty cool. I just had a natural way about her that I quite liked. She didn't feel like she was acting at being a person who she was. She just felt very natural in it, and she got a good rapport. I thought, there's a moment there. I can't remember where I saw this. Might have been in Vision as well. RTD drops a lot of stuff in the In Vision commentaries, by the way. If you have a chance to watch those are really fascinating.
Cruel hints, basically. Stay tuned for this. Stay tuned for that.
And he's, when Ncuti Gatwa's doctor sort of mentions about how, spending a hot summer with Harry Houdini, who does get name dropped earlier on in Planet of the Spiders. Spoilers for Planet of the Spiders.
So is the third doctor getting on with Harry Houdini? Story.
Yeah, exactly. Pertwee spent a hot summer with Harry Houdini. Troughton,
could be Joe Martin's doctor, man.
He wouldn't have known that.
But it's more fun.
But it's almost, but it's but her reaction to it when you sort of oh, okay, well that shuts that door pretty quickly, I suppose. Just in case I was thinking of going there, it looks like he and Harry Houdini have a thing going on. Unless, of course, that was just a joke, but. No, I liked her, like the family. I like the set of their home, which is an actual built set, but no flyaway walls.
Looks good though.
They purposely made it small because when you make a set of a cramped apartment but have walls that you can take out to shoot with different camera angles, you will just instinctively make it too big to be a believable set. And so they made it with the walls like that, and which I thought was quite interesting, They forced their restrictions on them to shoot in a cramped apartment, and it pays off, I thought. Speaking of which, let's talk about Mark Tonderai directing his third Doctor Who episode, and thus is enshrined now in the miniscope. with Rosa and the Ghost Monument as part of his over in the miniscope. What do you think of his direction in this episode?
I don't know if I took any notes, but well, no, I didn't take any notes, but it was good. It was interesting. He does fill the remit of they have a whole lot more money, so it makes it look a lot better. Like for instance, all the stuff in the Goblin ship, which is a pretty cramped thing too. Like all that works. Like you don't really question it, which is a sign of a good director.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris, you have thoughts about Tandare? Whose work we liked before. Yeah.
I don't think I made any particular notes about his work, but watching Unleashed, just seeing him running the camera as much as he did was interesting.
Yeah.
And not normal, not expected.
No, it does happen, but not often on Doctor Who. I know that on his website, his official website, there's a picture of him with his trademark mohawk design, a Led Zeppelin t-shirt, so he's already won me over, and then he's holding a camera. Like he does a lot of his own shooting, I think. Yeah, they also the interview scene is where you could see him in the background, like
he worked on
shooting Millie Gibson stuff.
He worked on some American stuff, and a friend of ours, who I'm not going to name because she may not be named, she's worked with him, and she said he's a lovely fellow. So secondhand, that's what I've heard.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I liked his. I love how they shot the chase scene along the rooftop. I love how Ncuti Gatwa was basically hurtling over like the chimneys and stuff. I thought just the way that he's hopping over it was really cool, and how they shot that and. They shot in some wasteland or something in Wales or something where they shot most of that and stuff. I thought it looked pretty good, but yeah, he only directed this Christmas special though. He didn't direct any of the other episodes in that first season block. So this is our first and last chance we get to see him for this at least a year. So I'm glad we got to see him back in Doctor Who. We've kind of been avoiding it. Let's talk about the song. There's the Goblin song in here.
I already put in my 2 bits.
Yeah, which happens diegetically, although, I mean, are they here? Okay, here's what gets me about the song. I know that we're kind of in fantasy land here a little bit, because RTD also said in the InVision commentary about how the toy maker has sort of like opened the door to fantastical stuff coming into the universe a little bit.
Which is him saying, "Don't at me," is what it boils down to.
Don't at me about
what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's the language of luck and string language and everything like this.
It's fine, whatever. I don't care.
It's fine, but there's here's the thing which gets me, and this is probably why I don't like musicals. In one of the many things I don't like musicals is that the goblins are running around using string and they're a big giant wheel to like do the curtain opening and everything. Like everything seems to be organic, and then we have like this very modern sounding song coming from this band of goblins playing out of like a conch horn and like a string bass with like two bits of rope,
and singing into a pine cone.
I
mean, that's fine. That's whimsical. Here's the problem.
All right.
In musicals, even if I don't like them, some of them have really good songs. This is not a really good song.
It's not a good song.
so that kind of doesn't work either. Like you can have a great musical, but if the songs suck, you're out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched a hockey music score, a hockey musical.
That sounds like my ultimate nightmare.
It's not good. It was, but they clearly had an idea for an opening song and the closing number, and everything in between is basically them just singing their dialogue and but with no actual song per se.
Now I say all this. People who like musicals, who I know, loved it. So they're better experts in it than I am. I'll give them that. I guess they're doing it right, but.
It's diegetic, which makes it okay, and you can kind of, I kind of would have liked if the doctor sort of said, "Hey, the goblins are slave to the music, man. Like you could. This is why they keep him singing, because he could tell that he's distracting the goblins because they love a good dance party more than anyone, and so that's why they jump in and say. I also kind of would have liked it if perhaps they would have, because they were clearly improving on the spot in the story, with the lyrics and everything. I wish they would have sort of Millie Gibson does a little bit, sort of like, I got to think of the next thing that rhymes, to make it look like they were kind of stretching to fill while they think of an escape plan. It felt a little too planned, and that's another thing about musicals too, is that like they're just jumping into these choreographed dance routines for no reason at all.
Here's another thing. How does a baby, well, first of all, if the Goblin King is eating the baby, do not answer this question. How do the other goblins get any food out of this? And secondly, how does a tiny little baby, which is kind of gross to begin with, but how does a tiny little baby feed even a Goblin King? That's not a lot of food. It's a baby.
Well, you're not a goblin, Warren. You don't know what feeds these things.
That's true. I am being racist towards goblins. It's true.
Yeah, maybe the Goblin King uses the baby to produce other food. For
don't think about it any harder than that.
These little bibbling time goblins, because that's all they do. They bibble, as the doctor says, throughout time and stuff, which is why it just disappears at the end, which I kind of liked. I like that there wasn't like an exploding ship at the end.
I like how offended he was when she calls him time traveler. He's like, what?
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you? I also like that, like, all of London wasn't like thwarted by this goblin ship. It was just they're just a bunch of time jerks just going around looking for babies to eat, and like they didn't disrupt and they didn't invade England or London or anything like that. It was just like
Trinity Wells didn't show up and deny their existence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of low key and stuff, but yeah, the song. They're clearly building to wanting to do an entire musical episode.
No, please.
Which
don't do this to me, RTD.
They don't need to do that. There's only 8 episodes a year. I don't want 1/8 of our episodes to be a musical episode. Because
I want to have seen every Doctor Who ever made.
They have to come up with a conceit to have it be musical. But I feel like there's going to be more music stuff happening. Chris, you had notes. You took some notes for this, which we like to use as talking points sometimes. So do you have those ready and available as discussion points?
I do. I didn't know we're there yet, but okay.
Yeah, we're always there. You never know when it's going to happen. Well, you got other things to talk about? You want to mention something else that you liked, or outside of your notes?
I'll go to the notes.
See, this is why I asked for the notes, because then this is why you write them down so that you remember things to talk about.
Yes.
It's often how they work.
For the club scene, I really dug the music that was being played. Nice drum and bass rhythm, which appeals to me. And then some of the lyrics that were there, falling down on my own, kind of playing to Ruby's at least perceived clumsiness.
Oh,
bad luck. I wonder, was that an actual song? I wonder, was that a licensed
I don't know if it's
song?
bespoke or if it's
I would bet it's licensed.
Yeah.
And then never felt like this before, which obviously comes into play later,
right?
As well. Second thing, I'm going to skip that for now because we're going to come back to it. Spoiler alert: Mrs. Flood.
Gotcha. Yep.
I'm sure we want to dedicate a chunk for that.
We will.
After the absurdity of Davina McCall grilling Ruby about accidents and bad luck, that would never happen in reality. I did chuckle at the tree topping star thing impaling her. At least till you see it not happen later, I guess.
Right.
But
yep.
I'm
Doctor
like,
who has to save Davina McCall. Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, yay. Chekhov's Polaroid.
Okay. Polaroid camera. Gotcha.
We got the Ruby finds Ruby finds the Polaroid camera with the photo hanging out of it under the bed when they were trying to find Lulu Bell.
Goblin accidentally did
in frame.
A butt dial there. Yeah.
But at the end, wouldn't it have been that there was no photo at all because the goblins weren't there to take the baby? Therefore, they weren't there to take the photo rather than the photo just being blank.
Is that a bootstrap paradox? Is that what that is?
From a paradox machine, the master reveals himself.
Yeah, destination
possibly,
paradox.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's kind of that plus the whole like Back to the Future angle of that thing.
Yeah. Because there's literally a photo in Back to the Future where his brother is disappearing, his unspoken of brother. Yeah.
We have yet another mention of Mavity as they're hanging off the rope ladder.
I know.
That's continue.
That'll
keep going.
Yeah. Not sure about that, but okay, yeah.
I did like the intelligent gloves. I found them most enjoyable.
Yeah, it's funny that Zoe Ball she called them psychic gloves on her Radio 2 show when Ncuti Gatwa was a guest, and they clearly weren't psychic gloves. They were like gravity gloves and stuff.
Okay, but why would she know that?
Well, because she went to the screening like literally the night before, so it was
these
fresh
are
in her mind.
entertainment figures. I don't expect much out of them, frankly.
Right, I suppose not. Yeah, although apparently they could still do a lot at 3% battery charge because he did manage to pull the ship down.
That's if that was my phone, no, that would not happen. It would just conk out.
As far as the gloves are concerned, I thought they were great. They were a fine Doctor Who conceit.
Yeah.
Despite the goblins going back and taking Ruby as a baby being time travel trope number 1,
right?
The scenes between Ncuti and Michelle Greenidge, Ruby's mom, were fantastic. The way they played off each other, the emotion, the tears, the realization that she's not having fun. The change in the setting when Ruby's gone, like things are a lot darker.
Mm-hmm. The color grading is really interesting there. Yeah,
the Christmas lights are all gone. Yeah,
a lot more blue.
I noticed that all the pictures on the fridge were gone before they pointed that out. I was like, oh, okay, I see where we're going.
Yeah, no, that definitely caught my eye. I'm like, are the pictures on the fridge gone? And sure enough, they were. When you get back there 2 minutes later. It was great to see them. I've seen her in a few other things and always enjoyed her work. And,
she was in It's a Sin, right?
She was in It's a Sin. She was also in a show called Mandy with I can't think of the real name. Anyway, it was a sitcom, BBC sitcom with she who plays Philomena Kunk.
Oh, okay. I know what you mean.
Diane Morgan.
Yes. There we
go. The Goblin King being impaled.
that was heavy. Yeah.
It was a bit much,
as though the church is some kind of reverse bow ship killing the great vampire.
Oh, thank you. Nicely done, Chris. Nicely done.
Quite clearly, a State of Decay. Direct reference here.
I want something to be there, therefore it is there. The Doctor Who fan story.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with the ship just disappearing.
Yeah, why not?
As the wrap up to the it's not really paradoxical, but
it basically took them out of time, essentially. Yeah,
Is it dumber than a ball contest? No, it is not.
No, they were. Yeah, they were basically. They were the Polaroid of that instance. Basically, they just ceased to be at a time, which is kind of cool, and saved the cleanup as well.
Also because they're not proper time travelers, they're bibblers.
Yep.
Maybe they do things differently. Maybe they don't have the same. I don't want to say physics. That's not the best word, but they don't have the same adherence to certain rules that maybe a proper time traveler would have.
Well, yeah, like RT's got this get out of jail free card now that he concocted himself. So we're just going to have to deal, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the last thing I had was when the basket with baby Ruby is falling from the ship. I could have done without the falling sound effect. Didn't need to be there.
I was a little traumatized by seeing a baby fall from a great height. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know there was a. I didn't know there was a. I didn't notice the sound effect for what was the sound effect?
Woo!
That sort of thing. Oh.
Yeah.
How do you know? Well, that's how you cover up, I guess. No, maybe
Have
not.
you dropped a baby from a church, Chris? How do you know?
Yeah. Because I've dropped a couple at least, and let me tell you, they do make that noise.
Old baby dropper Shapansky.
Yeah, don't ask me why, but
so when you turn 18 in Alberta, you have to drop babies from a church.
That is the way it works. Yeah,
that is the way it works.
Right before you get your first pack of stubby Pilsner bottles,
and then you get to drink those, and then drive an F-150 into a wall
with loaded shotguns.
Yeah, we don't have shotguns here. Come on. We do drive our trucks. We don't drive our trucks.
Yeah, that was the last of the notes I had. So I'm just going to turn the conversation over to Mrs. Flood.
Mrs. Flood. So,
Mrs. Flood. So first thing obviously is the water reference. So there are those saying, "Oh, gonna be river."
Oh, God. So
River
tiresome.
Song. I had thought about that. So I want to point out that listener Jed added us on Twitter beforehand. He's in the Antipodes, and so he doesn't. He's not probably here right now. But he and I had the same idea. Mrs. Flood is quite clearly a reference to Gerald Flood, the actor who played not only King John.
It's his mom. Yeah,
King John in the King's Demons, but was the voice of Chameleon. So this is Chameleon, obviously. Right there, that's one. It's the Ronnie. It's Susan. There you go, getting those off the board. Susan as the Ronnie. Susan being the Doctor's granddaughter. Or the Ronnie being a villainous time lady from the 1980s.
It's none of those things. It's somebody else who's new. That's what it is. Come on, people.
Yeah. Or how does it tie into Series 9's Before the Flood?
It doesn't. How about that?
Is it? Yeah. Why flood?
Here's an idea. We want this to be an all new thing for an all new audience. Let's tie it to the most obtuse continuity we can possibly do.
Exactly it. Yeah.
Doctor Who fans, come on now, stop it.
Yeah, it's a good point, Warren.
Well, one of the aspects as well was just I'm hesitant to say character development, but from the stages we see of the character. So she's, bitching to Abdul, the neighbor, about thinking that he was the one that put the police box on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then the next thing we see is the TARDIS is dematerializing when the Doctor goes to save baby Ruby, and she's there, sees it, drops her shopping in shock. And then talking to Abdul again, and then, have you never seen the TARDIS before? Like, there's this really rapid succession of how, I don't know, revealing her character, her personality, whatever. So are we in time going to have something where she's just this normal person at the start of the episode, and then a la the 11th Doctor's jacket,
right?
Somebody, whoever goes back in time to midway through Church on Ruby Road and takes her over, changes her personality, whatever it is.
Here's my far more likely explanation, I think, is what's going to happen is they're going back in time to the 60s, right? They're seeing the Beatles. She's probably going to be very young at that point. Here's her character, and that's where she sees a TARDIS. And that hasn't happened yet at the point where she doesn't know what the TARDIS is in Ruby Road. And then that happens. And then as we come back, that's happened already. So that's where I think she's from. She's probably met the Doctor and has an adventure with him in the 60s. And then knows who he is.
She makes the explicit statement, nothing about the Doctor, obviously, but about not having seen a police box in London in 50 years.
50
that makes more sense within the context of a whole season where she's going to be a part of it, as opposed to a bunch of pulled out of the air nonsense about, I don't know, the Planet of the Spiders or something. Like, that's just grasping. This makes way more sense.
I mean,
could be wrong, but
that's just a thing, because police boxes were commonplace in 1963, or certainly more so.
Yeah.
And then are no longer so.
It's also
it seemed just like a throwaway line, like, I've just been around a while, but I think it might have deeper meaning.
It might have deeper meaning, but also it might be a way of saying, hey, new viewers to Doctor Who on Disney Plus who don't know what a police box is other than being a TARDIS.
Yeah.
This is why it looks like this. It used to be on streets 50 years ago. It could be something as simple as that as well.
And but you're right, she reacts. It makes the most sense, I think.
She reacts with surprise when it disappears. And I can't tell if that's, oh my God, this thing disappeared, or, oh my God, that's a TARDIS. And now that's...
And I mean, the ambiguity is there until it's explained away. But
Anyway, in May 2024, or a little later than that, we're going to find all this out.
Or will we, Warren?
Well, who knows?
It's Jane Asher. It's Jane Asher, ex-girlfriend of Paul McCartney back in the 1960s. That's who it's going to be.
Could be. Who knows?
Someone they meet on their retreat.
She's playing herself
India.
Because Brian will see a young Brian May with her in the 60s.
That the formation of Queen.
Brian and then we'll
May
get
is Anita Dobson's husband.
Ncuti Gatwa going into that EastEnders from the 1980s. That was a huge winner on videotape. I mean, if people are allowed to come up with their own nonsensical headcanons, so am I.
Brian May and Anita Dobson got married in 2000.
Who cares?
2000.
It doesn't really matter.
Well after Queen, then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that really ruins my gag, Chris. So thanks.
And then any thoughts on her breaking the fourth wall, possibly unnecessarily? Because even in Unleashed, they show like somebody recording the camera, recording her.
Yeah.
And she's just like right in like.
Yeah.
Well,
she's never seen the TARDIS before.
We could have that in a later episode where they cut to somebody else listening to her. She isn't necessarily breaking the fourth wall. We don't know that.
Oh, no. I mean, Doctor Who's broken the fourth wall.
She's not.
I mean, it works
so
as that too.
many times.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Tom Baker did it on, as a matter of fairly regular occurrence.
I mean, it could just be whimsy and a gag they wanted to do. So,
Peter Capaldi addressed the camera, at the very beginning of Before the Flood. Whoa! I mean, so obviously it's
Before
Flood.
Mrs. Flood.
Before Mrs. Flood and Before the Flood. So I'm not looking at that at all as being there's actually someone, like when Chief Wakeham, in the mayor, who is it, the doctor in the Who Killed Mr. Burns episode, well, I can't solve this murder, can you? And he points at the camera, then they realize it's actually pointing at Chief Wakeham. I'll give it a shot, I guess.
No, I think it's far more likely.
She is until she isn't.
Yeah.
I've said this a million times before. Whoever the showrunner is at the time is going to refer to their own stuff. So if it's going to be anything from the past, it's going to be RTD's own stuff. It won't be something from deep in the mists of wherever. Although Moffat did like to pluck things from the mists of forever, so maybe I'm not entirely right.
Well,
there.
I mean, you could almost say that RTD is repeating himself somewhat with the Killer Christmas Tree, except though the actively moving Killer Christmas Tree that did absolutely nothing as the Doctor just blew it up with the Sonic, versus this static Christmas tree that the goblins caused to fall and impale McCall.
All right.
Yeah, I do like your notion there, Warren, that you're right. Luring in a new audience.
Why would you go back to some obscure nonsense that we have to think about?
Exactly. It's the Seraph Diplos, well, first you got to understand there was a key to time back in 1978.
Nobody's going to go to that.
No.
I'll start off by saying that I thought it was a really good way that they did it, but what are your thoughts on the Doctor talking about being adopted and all that kind of stuff as a reference to the Timeless Child?
It's an interesting way to work it through.
Speaking of going into the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm somewhat surprised at how much RTD is leaning into. He's almost doing it like out of like, so you people didn't like the whole Timeless Child thing. Well, guess what? We're going to reference it in every episode I've written up to this point.
I mean, that's what he was handed. Why not? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. He is not avoiding it. In retrospect, it's kind of funny that Moffat basically from the start kind of like says, well, the end of time, all that nonsense didn't happen. No one remembers the Cyberman. No one remembers this because, crack it time. Everyone's memory is at fault now. And now none of those things really happen because, it's a way of getting out of the fact that London seemed to be under massive alien invasion every other week at some points during the RTD era. But RTD is saying, nope. Half the universe is gone. The Doctor's adopted, Timeless Child, all that. He's leaning.
I got to give him credit for doing it. It's not what I expected RTD to do, to be honest with you. I expected him just hand wave it all away, and he hasn't done that. So good for him.
Yeah.
Well, especially with Chibnall coming out saying, I fully expect that my successor is going to, get rid of
that's
all
standard TV fare, right? That's usually what you do. Or do you want to put your stamp on it? Well, RTD has the luxury of already putting his stamp on it once, so he can just kind of work with it if he wants.
Well, that and RTD is more than intelligent enough to realize that he's taking this thing over that does have the the history that it has, and he's not going to hand wave it all away.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll happily pick and choose the elements that he thinks are
exactly, and
best
if
or most
he's doing it,
but
there's a reason for it that works for him too.
Yeah, no, it's interesting seeing people who were adopted or grew up in like Crystal D on the Official Doctor Who podcast. She grew up in a foster home. My mom was foster home. She only found out who her real dad was like 5-10 years ago, and it was some drunk sailor from Scotland. Who stopped for a weekend in Victoria in 1945.
So she qualifies for a British passport.
Which means you do.
Possibly. I suppose maybe should look into that. Well, I mean, if you can find the very generically named Scottish soldier,
Angus McClenny.
That's exactly it, Chris. You nailed
Jamie
it.
McCrimmon in an astonishing coincidence.
James Robert McCrimmon for some reason. So, not knowing one half of my whole family history growing up. It's like, it's a kind of, I don't have the direct connection, but, knowing someone who didn't know who her parents were really, it was kind of
I was just thinking about this, even on my dad's side, past my grandparents, I have no idea who our ancestors are. None whatsoever. A bunch of serfs. That's all I know. Like, I know a little more on my mom's side, but my dad's side, these immigrants came over, and that's it. That's all we know. Like, and we're not going to know anymore.
Well, did you get Davina McCall on it? And maybe she could help you out.
I mean, I did take a DNA test to find out if I had any Jewish ancestry whatsoever, since I've been mistaken as such. Turns out no, which I was really disappointed by, frankly. I was like, come on, what a ripoff this is.
Oh, I know.
Just boring ass German and British. Boo, whatever.
I know. Jeez,
you suck, Jeans.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, well, mysteries to come, I guess. We find out who Mrs. Flood is, who Ruby's mom is. Is it one and the same? It'd be amusing if Mrs. Flood is actually Ruby herself in the future, because it's weird how she goes.
Yeah,
because at the end he goes, good. Ruby turns back and goes, "Good luck, Ruby." Because she knows that she's going to go into the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it is Ruby. That'd be the most RTD thing you could do. That's Ruby.
Mm-hmm. Not noticing yourself. I mean, how much do you? I mean, I guess if you're in a Martin Scorsese movie, you know exactly what you look like in 40 years' time because you've been aged up or down depending on the state of digital effects.
Well,
but if you're if you're on other things, you're a different actor altogether. So why would you recognize yourself?
At 19, I wouldn't recognize me now. I don't think I would.
I don't think I look that dissimilar to what I did in 19. I
was dumb as hell in 19. I wouldn't notice anyway.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Maybe Ruby isn't, but I was.
Yeah. All sorts of possibilities. But yeah, it'll be someone entirely new, or Cessair of Diplos back for revenge.
Let's go with Cessair for the hell of it.
From being frozen as a stone for the last millennia.
Try explaining that too. Blood. That'll be a lot of fun.
It'll be a flashback, like they did with the toy maker. They'll just do a quick little flashback, little stones of blood.
And just properly put it in black and white.
Put in black, and they'll filmize it.
We decolored it. We hired people to decolor it, as opposed to just turning off the color.
And filmize it, as Steven said.
Yeah, because it was, of course, shot on videotape on location by director Daryl Blake. God, I love talking about 1970s Doctor Who.
Really?
As if you can tell. Yeah, I know, it's amazing, isn't it? It's a shocker. Is there anything else? Anything else we haven't covered about?
Not about it specifically. No.
Church on Ruby Road. You want to mention? Covered. Yeah.
I guess I never really thought about it until now. So goblins aside, because there are you know, dozens or whatever hordes of them, but we've got a fairly small cast on the whole, and that's true. That works. Well, it gives us a chance to focus on a number of characters. Like if we had a broader cast, the whole tea gag for Cherry, I'm sure wouldn't have been as ongoing as it was.
Yeah, and it's I like. The moments between the characters is what we like. I like it when they're, when the Doctor and Ruby are sort of like, tied to the mast together, so that we can, see them form their friendship because they just met and they're tied up a little bit, and then we can, them going back and forth and not, sort of not. Russell T Davies mentioned that you really had to work to make eye contact in that scene, so that the eye contact scenes mean something because they have to really work at actually turning their head to look at each other for that. It's those moments and the moments between Ruby and her mom which are really good. And you're right, Chris. If there's a lot more happening, we would miss that because we are introduced to entirely new characters. This is
who
the
will
Doctor
probably
we've never
continue
really
on.
known.
I mean, these two obviously will, but yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't have. I mean, Ruby didn't get to see the TARDIS really, so we didn't have the explanation of how the TARDIS works from the Doctor to the new companion, which is another great entry point for new Doctor Who viewers. Yeah,
which we may still get in episode 1 of the proper series.
Yeah, I'm curious about how, given that we're not really concerned about starting new episodes immediately where the previous one left off. Even from week to week, will they have been traveling together already? Will she be like? Will it pick up right from where we left off at the end of Ruby Road?
In that vein, you could use that as a good excuse to not have to go through the whole bigger on the inside.
I mean, which you did already.
Dimension transcendental, whatever. But if that isn't covered off, is that enough of an in for the new audience?
It was for us. When I started watching Doctor Who, it just kind of happened, and eventually they did explain it, but I was like, that's just the way this is, I guess.
Yeah. I just sort of assumed it. Yeah, Russell T Davies was wrong, by the way, in the Envision commentary. He said that nobody has ever run back out and walked around since Rose
I wondered
did.
about that, yeah.
Didn't Clara do the same thing?
Clara did it in the in
that's
the
right,
Snowman.
in the cloud cover.
Almost the exact same angle, too, from right above was what Tonderai did there, yeah. Show it, the fact that she's walking all around it. So you're wrong, Russell T Davies. You should be fired and banned from Doctor Who. Yeah.
Your woke TARDIS wanderings.
Yeah, exactly. Listener Joe said, tell you what, I'll bring that up. Thoughts on the Sonic, the new Sonic screwdriver?
It's fine. Yeah. I know it's different looking, but who cares? Change it up. It's been 60 years.
Don't really see much of it. I mean, the Doctor tries using it on wood.
I know, but wrong universe, it doesn't work on string anymore, so he puts it away. I like that we get it, we get two introductions for it, because he explains it once in the ship to Ruby about what it is, and then of course later on, a year later in production terms, he's explaining it to the policeman there about what it is as well.
For newbies, that is something like all of a sudden he's got this magic thing that makes a noise. That doesn't mean much. So yeah, fair.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I didn't honestly. I'm still not sure which way is up and which way is front, because he sort of holds it. What I thought was upside down.
Was it Chris? Was it Chris that said it looked like a Nokia? And I think you're definitely right. It does look like something Nokia would cook up.
No, it wasn't. No,
I did not, but I can see that.
Yeah, it definitely looks like something from an early 2000s Nokia. Maybe that's where he got it from in 2004. Maybe Ruby's mom gave him the Sonic just to add fuel to that stupid fire.
Yeah, funny. I saw someone post on Twitter. So these scenes take place a week apart, and that's Ruby Sunday's mom dropping her off on the church doorstep, and then David Tennant's doctor saying Happy New Year to Rose Tyler at the very end of the end of time.
Oopsie.
1 week apart.
Right.
In canonical terms. Yep. Yeah, I didn't get the Tennant the 3-week sonic screwdriver as a fun prop, and I don't know if I'll be able to. I probably will. We'll probably be at Gallifrey 1 or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
But I kind of want Ncuti Gatwa's one, just because it kind of does look like a TV remote, or
It's different. That's fine. I'm totally fine with them. It's better than Sonic sunglasses, which I did not like. So this is better.
No, you didn't like the sunglasses.
That's stupid,
that's right.
frankly.
I agree.
Well. Right. Okay. So, is there anything else about this? Because there are a couple other little fun things, annoying things, little things that I wanted to bring up when it comes.
Bring them up then.
I know it never would have happened, but okay. So I really dig the new title sequence. There's no question about it.
I didn't like how the logo still is just it just does that. I don't like that.
But
I don't mind. Doesn't really bother me.
Yeah,
but it's just it ends up being just one more thing that Tennant got to debut.
That's true.
That Gatwa didn't. So new TARDIS interior, new titles, and whatever else.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
I mean, I can see the practical reasons for all this.
New Doctor's thunder,
money wise, because you didn't have a 13th Doctor's TARDIS to work with, and you're not going to make a bare bones one for Tennant just to have, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any economic sense, but I still see where you're coming from too.
And by the same token, you probably don't want to have the original Tennant Doctor, like the Coral kind of thing, back again either.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're looking like Disney Plus seems to be doing, looking at like launching basically a new show to them in many ways. Do you want to just dispense with all the introductory stuff beforehand? Oh my God, the TARDIS is brand new, or do you just want to say this is what the TARDIS is?
And if people go back to look, there's the consistency of the TARDIS looking like that, like their doctors, Ncuti Gatwa's looks like. So there is that, but you're not wrong either. Like
on that tangent, is now maybe a good time to talk about the differences between BBC version and Disney Plus version?
Bring up. So in the UK version, it cuts the titles. I know I'm the Doctor, cliffhanger sting, actor credits start, your normal credits start, and then we cut in where the mid-credit scene with Anita Dobson looking to camera. On Disney Plus, instead of the credits, up popped New Home, New Who, Spring 2024 with Ncuti Gatwa's
jarring,
face.
frankly.
And then it felt odd. It was like 15
seconds
out of
nowhere.
worth. Yeah, and that's what it was in place of what it was on. So they were really hammering it home. But I mean, there's a mid-credit sequence there. So Disney probably thought, well, what do we do with this? We got 15 seconds. Do we want to put the credits like per usual, or do we want to make a note that this is where it's going to be? Mm-hmm. It's not the best place for it. I'll say that.
Yeah, I don't think it worked all that well.
But yeah,
I mean, we've had enough stuff fully after the credits, be it trailers or whatever, in the past.
Yeah.
But I still can't help but wonder, when those credits started to roll on BBC One, how many people changed the channel, switched off, whatever, and never saw the Anita Dobson talking to camera part.
Then what are they really missing, though?
Sequence.
Like, nothing that they need to see.
I know.
Nothing they need to see insofar as when it gets paid off, I guarantee you there'll be a flashback to it happening here.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Like, they'll replay it to some degree.
Yeah.
Well, so how many people in the UK were not even getting out of their chair? like that was just sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, okay, there's this extra thing." Like, I bet you a bunch of people weren't changing the channel.
They were probably busy talking about anything.
Full of turkey and booze.
Exactly. I'm just happy that the automatically shrinking of the credits on Disney Plus didn't happen until after that. I tried
Devil's bargain we signed.
That's true.
Oh, that's a recent thing. Up to like the first episode, the Star Beast, I could swipe back to the screen after minimize and bring it back full screen again. They don't let you do that anymore. They've updated the app
because other shows on Disney do that, and it's annoying as hell. Like Star Wars.
I really hate it. I really hate it. I want to watch the whole credits Disney Plus. Thank you very much. I need to be able to compare and contrast them to the BBC version for one, but. It's part of the episode, and I don't like it. And they're thinking, if you like this one, maybe you'd like to watch the Star Beast. Thinking, well, if you've seen my viewing history, Disney Plus, you've seen that I've had it on at least 12 times over the past month and a bit. So
there's a lot of times where things like that could be better. Like
that's not restricted to Disney either.
I was complaining to Kat last night. Like, there's a store I shop at regularly has Boxing Week stuff.
Right.
I ordered some stuff the other day. I'm still getting a deluge of emails and texts saying, "Hey, Boxing Week sale!" Like, check my purchase history. I bought stuff.
No,
shut up.
Yeah. No. AI will solve all these problems because it's so intelligent. Wait a minute. No, it won't actually. It'll just add to it.
It won't indeed. Yeah. And then Disney later on tweeted that, and it said spring on the actual broadcast thing, and then it was updated when they tweeted that exact same promo out a couple hours after it dropped. It said May of 2024 is when Doctor Who returns.
And it was also said in Unleashed someplace as well, I think.
It was said either there or the commentary as well. It says, we can say this.
Both. I didn't watch the commentary.
I didn't watch the commentary.
They did say the commentary,
but I did see Unleashed. So
I'm impressed with how up to date and just like on top of things, as I've said before. Like, they recorded the commentary in November with the scene that was Millie Gibson had watched the episode the day before, and the scene with the falling snowman that they shot in October wasn't in the version that Millie Gibson saw, so it was that late. I just like how they knew even then that it was going to be May. Now here's my thing, me wondering. There's obviously a lot of discussion and thought about who Ruby Sunday's mother is. Does episode 1 or episode 2 tie in with who her mother is, and does that mean the series drops on Mother's Day in North America, which is May the 12th?
Seems like a bit of a stretch to me.
Yeah, I know. Mothering Sunday in the UK is like March 10th or something. I did look it up, and that's obviously not when it's debuting. But
are we getting it on Saturdays? And if so, then not on Mother's Day.
Oh, that's right. Obviously not Mother's Day.
And also, this is a thread that you don't pick up right away, or at least RT Danvers did. He dropped these things, and then they let it sit for a few episodes, and then it comes back. That's usually how you do it. So. Yeah,
and based on what episode 1 Unleashed had a preview clip of the first episode, and there's been a couple things there in the trailer, which we'll talk about. In the teaser, I think it's basically the one where they're running around where the Doctor doesn't have his coat on, and they're in the ship. They're running around
It's a corridor and a monster. Oh well, what a surprise!
Doctor Who's back, baby. Yeah. So I'm wondering if, like, I don't know, this is me speculating. So probably, Millie Gibson going, hey, can we find out who my mom is? Sure, let's go find out. And then, oh my God, we've been taken off course, and now we're on this crazy ship, and we have to run away from this monster.
Classic Doctor Who.
Maybe we'll get a story where Paul Cornell writes about that, and she saves her mother from getting run over by a car.
That's right. Maybe Ruby Sunday's mother was driving the car that killed Sean Tyler.
Well, that would tie in with
Except
previous
you see it was a dude, but yeah.
It's just like, no, but it's changed. It's changed. She goes back in time and says, actually, I want to learn can I just borrow your car for a second? I'm just going to drive around
over
the block
Pete
a couple
Tyler,
times.
steps outside and goes, Mavity.
Mavity. Yeah.
One thing. So Erica in the live stream chat mentions that Disney Plus. I don't know if you want to bring up her remark there, Stephen, for all to see.
There we go.
Disney Plus is already promoting Doctor Who quite a bit. I'm interested to see the promotion push in the spring. So I'm new to Disney Plus. I use ad blockers everywhere I get the chance.
Right.
What is Disney Plus doing so far?
I don't do that, and I haven't seen much either.
Disney Plus has understand that I don't watch a lot of. Go on.
When I went to watch the episode yesterday, I didn't know it was called Special 4. It was anywhere near my home screen. I had to search for it, and even then, it was a page or two down in the search results before I found it. So even
I've
on
seen
the
the
app,
top tile thing.
I'm not seeing that.
Yeah,
I'm just curious what they are doing.
Yeah. I fired up the app, and it was top tile right there. Doctor Who Special 4.
It was
not
for me too,
despite my viewing history of having watched the first 3.
Because probably nothing else on Disney Plus.
Yeah, just thinking you just got Disney Plus to watch Doctor Who. So long for your month-long trial membership, I guess.
I probably just renewed as well, so it's another $15.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just legitimately curious. Like, what has Disney Plus done so far?
So
to use as a benchmark for what might happen in this race.
Honestly, I have not seen. So I think on so I don't watch a lot of cable. But I do watch sports, and I think occasionally that I've seen a few Disney Plus ads for basically generic holiday content. And a lot of that is just existing stuff. Home Alone, Frozen, the Santa Claus is not Christmassy stuff. I was hoping and looking very fast to see if also Ahsoka and like other like original stuff. Doctor Who was not amongst that 30-second spot that I saw. So I haven't seen any actual television commercials or anything like that when it comes to that. I haven't noticed any banner ads at all for Disney Plus or something on websites or stuff like that. But it is not ignored on their app, which is a big thing. But yeah,
in my experience, it is.
Except for you, apparently. But RTD has said that when Ncuti Gatwa's first season debuts, that's when the big
and we have a news piece about that coming up in a little while.
We do, later on this episode. So it's going to be interesting to see what that entails. Obviously, they can go back to Russell T Davies and say, "Hey, we'd like an entirely new scene, please, with the Doctor to make sure that we don't forget who he is." And they say, "Sure, let's do that." So
yeah.
Was it really?
We had talked about in the
Erica
past.
Says this. I didn't see it, Erica, for what it's worth, but she says Doctor Who was in at least one of the Doctor Who Xmas montages. I looked closely for that, but maybe I missed it. I'm sorry. Anyway, sorry, Chris, you were saying.
Yeah, because we'd wondered in the past what kind of influence Disney is going to have on things, and I think we have a partial answer here.
Yeah.
If they can demand, new scenes be recorded.
Well, I don't say demand. I think RTD agreed because he thought it was a good idea. It's what he said in the commentary. So yeah,
he didn't seem put out by it or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't some clueless exec saying it needs more Herbie the Love Bug or some nonsense like that.
Yeah,
I would love more Herbie the Love Bug. Bring back Lindsay Lohan's career needs a resurgence. So
no, it doesn't. First of all, that's not true, and secondly, actually, I have nothing against Lindsay Lohan specifically.
No. I liked Herbie and the kid. Who is it? Dean? What's his name? Who was in the old ones? Dean.
Dean. Yeah, I know. He was in all the Disney films. Yeah.
Jones. Dean Jones?
Dean Jones. I think you're right. I think it was Dean Jones.
Well, I always get confused with Doug Jones, who is not the same person.
No, he's very much taller than Dean Jones. Dean wasn't the short guy, but Doug Jones is 7 feet tall, something like that. He's a very tall dude. He's Saru in Star Trek Discovery.
He's Saru in Star Trek, yeah.
He's the only good thing about Star Trek Discovery.
Whoa! Should have been captain. I
agree.
Do you want to? And then he
Briefly.
wasn't. Do you want to talk about the teaser at the end, which did not air on Disney Plus? It was only on YouTube and aired immediately after on BBC One. I have some thoughts that I will get out of the way right now because so they really lean into the fact that they're going to meet the Beatles. They mentioned this on Imagine You and Me back, and we'll talk a little bit later.
And they're walking down the street and saying, "Oh, Abbey Road Studios."
Abbey Road Studios. So the one where Ncuti Gatwa was wearing, they're wearing their 1960s garb, which looks hot and awesome. But now I'm looking at, so we're looking at the photo here in the live stream of the shot of the Beatles ostensibly about to record a thing in the studio, in Abbey Road Studio. So the studio itself looks fairly decent and stuff for that. And this ties in with the fact that the Goblins are playing modern sounding music on homemade instruments. That drum set is a drum set that Ringo was in no way ever playing in his life.
It came out in 1982.
Yeah, John Lennon wouldn't just be sitting there with an acoustic guitar playing along with an electric bed, just playing it live. No, that wouldn't happen either. They would have better mic setups. This is such a mishmash of different eras.
Also, the actors don't really look like the Beatles. Having said that, Anthony Hopkins didn't look like Nixon, so as long as they play it right, it doesn't matter. But
they're also like some of their style looks like they're 1966, and their hairstyles are like all a little too similar and stuff. I don't know what time period that's supposed to be. I'm not expecting a deeply accurate reproduction.
Maybe it'll be the Beatles with an E instead of an EA. so the Mavity has changed this too. So it's different Beatles.
Yeah. So anyway, I looked at that and was disappointed in it because
I'm looking forward to seeing how that all plays out, to be honest with you.
Well, I know. They're good at period detail when it comes to other stuff, but then they cobble together this. And
speaking of which, Ncuti Gatwa calls whoever that character is in the 1600s a cad.
Yeah.
And I was like,
a cad.
I'm done. I'm sold. I know. Whatever happens, he called somebody a cad.
Yeah. Is there also what looks to be, is that an auton in the distance of that
That's
one
the watcher.
That was my
Don't
question,
be dumb.
yeah.
That's a watcher.
On a cliff top there in one of the scenes, which was possibly an auton. You never know. What else? I grabbed a couple others. Tractators.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he specifically say we're not going to bring old monsters back?
You seem to be using my shots. Lovely.
Yeah.
Or better versions of them.
Yeah, I got better.
Much as I do love
my first thought was Tractators. Warren, you said the same, but then they show them like reared up, and they're not,
and their mouths are a lot different. But I mean, if you want to improve on the Tractators, you go right ahead, because they
only if they call the leader the Mavis.
I hope they do. That'd be great.
Then people will see that.
And
Mavis
Beacon teaches typing.
Yeah. Mavis Chen.
Listen, she taught a whole generation how to type. Come on.
Yeah.
Justice for Mavis Beacon.
And then next shot of Rose, or is that in your litany?
I got one more. I got two more. So Jonathan Groff holds a space ray in the Regency episode, where they're dancing a little bit, and that's where he calls him a cad.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Ncuti looks great in that, by the way. I cannot wait to
There's
see
nothing
this.
he looks bad in. I don't think he's capable of wearing a bad thing.
He looks good in everything. Well, absolutely everything.
And it's really different to see a doctor in different wigs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
And Ncuti said that the mustache was fake as well.
Yeah, it was.
Because he had to shave it off for sex education.
Sex education, yeah. He's been basically without for 4 years. Yeah, he wanted to differentiate himself.
It's just so weird and trippy to see all these costumes, even a costume change in church, and then the wigs and
yeah.
Still, I'm looking forward to it.
It's what Doctor Who's all. I mean, I lamented about all these historicals in the Jodie Whittaker era, and they never really played around with it. Certainly in that first year they weren't, and then they did that better in
your big complaint about Jodie Whittaker's Doctor never dressing for the period. I guess Spyfall is kind of the exception, maybe, but but like in Diodati, no period outfit.
She could have had an amazing outfit back then, but no, they didn't. Yeah, it's almost like they just hid the fact that she was a lady. She's like, she's a woman. Okay, we won't mention it ever again. We'll just clad her and
we were saying there's always Doctor Who is the odd one out. Like Tom Baker showing up anywhere looked like a weirdo, no matter where it was.
That's true. He was always out of time and everything. And I suppose Eccleston sort of said, you know what, we've landed in 1870. Well, I changed my jumper. You know, it's
Tennant barely changed. In tux, that was it. He was always in the suit, which never was frequently incongruous. So
yeah. But yes, it's mentioned in the official press release that yes, that is Yasmin Finney as Rose in the Unit HQ set, the very expensive Unit HQ set. So Unit obviously returns as well. But yeah, it's mentioned in the official Doctor Who press release that she's there.
Is she working for Unit, or is she just visiting a mom at work?
Maybe she's just visiting mom. Maybe she's doing work. I mean, obviously, Kate Stewart does not have a rigorous interview process. She just hires people who are
she
nearby.
does. You have to be a companion to the Doctor. That's not easy.
Well, not when it comes to people who traveled with the Doctor, but Rose hasn't traveled with the Doctor.
No, she did. She went to Mars.
Probably just there visiting mom at work.
Probably just visiting mom.
She did go to Mars, or was it New York? I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't remember either. Oh yeah, Mars. That's right. At the end of the dinner.
Also, I guarantee Tennant's going to show up for a very quick, helpful clip. You know, like a little cameo thing somewhere in this next season.
Right.
Maybe. I would not be the least bit surprised. It won't be like a double team thing. It'll just be like he shows up, says hi or whatever, or they drop him off, and you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let it.
I never said I wanted it to happen. I think
no.
To.
I know. Yeah. Just asking questions, Chris. That's all he's doing.
Just doing research.
Yeah, just doing research.
On YouTube, literally.
On YouTube. So the InVision commentary, if you have access to that, it's pretty great. There's Chris May, the producer, who doesn't say a lot because RTD is talking through the whole thing with Millie Gibson. They actually shot it on the set, on the house set.
Which means there's going to be see a lot more of that set because they probably didn't shoot it, right after this thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's still there. Apparently, they were dropping hints for we just had to read through for episode 6 of season 2. Which is 2 years from now. We'll see.
I don't know if it's part of your screenshots. I'm assuming not because we've gone past that part. But
I'm done with them.
You do see Indira Varma in the background of the Regency episode.
In the Regency as the Duchess. Yeah, she's in that too. So yeah, I only took. I was only going to take one of the Beatles equipment because it annoyed me, and then I thought, well, should probably talk about other things too. But yeah, the Beatles period accuracy annoys me. So also, I've been on a bit of a Beatles kick recently for some reason. So I've been watching and I actually looked up Ringo's drum kits because I have a similar looking one to Ringo, but it's obviously not a Ludwig one. But I was like, oh wow, that's not the 1964 to 68 kit, or is it the Shea Stadium kit? Because it's a Ludwig Mother of Pearl one.
You say obviously like anybody but you has a clue about any of this. But I was gonna say, if you're gonna get a musical episode, which I do not want, but if you are, I would bet on it being Jinx Monsoon's episode, just because the costume has all the notes and stuff on it.
A little bit, yeah. Forces everybody to sing. Is that like the? Is this like the music death ray and forces everybody to jump brink to song?
Jinx Monsoon's character is effing around with the Beatles equipment, and that's why they have things that are incongruous because of external influence.
It's like one of those stuffy classical music people from the 60s, like who would show up as a villain and like a kid's saying, "I want people to listen to classical music," and so she's fighting the Beatles.
Break out a left-handed zither for McCartney.
Or McCartney goes, Ringo's no longer playing Ludwig. This isn't my Ludwig kit. This is just a Slingerland kit, and he'll go very upset.
Maybe Pete Best will make an appearance.
This is like when I talked to my friend who's a huge car nut about Gran Turismo, which is the build a car that's very boring simulator.
Right.
And so car guys like him love it, they can go into insane detail. This is what you're doing with the Beatles stuff right now.
A little bit. I'm just saying that, costume people will probably look at other, stuff set in Regency era. They'll probably go, wait a second, that button is incongruous. It was only came into being in 1820. Why is it being used to fasten that?
I do this all the time. Whenever I see a news report on TV and they cut from one thing to another that they couldn't possibly do, right? Or when you see something on film with videotapes, indicators around it, that drives me nutty. Me and 5 other people. So yes, I get where you're coming from, but also nobody's going to care.
It's like watching The Death of Stalin, which is a otherwise great movie set in 1953. The Death of Stalin. It's very funny. Has a large ensemble cast.
But you have a starship captain in it, so
yeah. And then Jason Isaacs, and then you see a scene where they're playing hockey in period accurate skates, sticks, and everything else, and they cut to a wide shot, and they're shooting pucks into a modern hockey net, and I go, what? What is that? Why did you do that?
Media exists to annoy you, Stephen, as you've noticed.
It's like having a movie with Beethoven, and they suddenly cut to him, and he's playing a keytar. They go, what is that even doing? It didn't exist.
Well, my dad,
whatever.
I would watch that.
Yeah. My dad watched Oppenheimer last night. The man has a PhD in mechanical engineering. I'm pretty sure he had some similar complaints about atomic power or whatever else, which I don't understand because I'm a dummy with a liberal arts degree.
But Ringo's drum set does not match. I'm upset already about the Beatles episode and the future of Doctor Who. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how great his suit looks. I don't care about how great Ncuti Gatwa looks in the suit with the afro. Ringo's drum set does not match.
You got a real problem.
This episode is a bomb. It's terrible. RTD ruins Doctor Who.
Is this the death of Doctor Who?
Yes. On that note, let's talk about stats. The church on Ruby Road overnights 4.73 million. Third for the day behind Strictly Come Dancing, which got 5 something, and the King's Message. We've had 2 King's Messages now. God, it only feels like yesterday that Queen Elizabeth died, and that got like 7.8 something or other. So
it led the day. Yeah.
Led the day,
which is crazy, weird to me, because maybe it's because we're one step removed. But yeah, he is our king, I guess. But you just don't really pay attention to it. I guess in England it's different.
Well, they did.
His the money with his face on it isn't yet in circulation, so
that's true.
No, but I saw pictures of it though. I saw pictures of the coins. There's his name on the back. So yeah. And then the final ratings, because I know you're wanting to know this. The Giggle final BBC One viewing figure 6.85, 10th.
Damn.
For the week.
Yeah. What was it on Disney, though? That's the question. What was it on Disney?
Well, probably never know.
We'll never know.
All three attendance specials finishing top 10 for the week. So, therefore, Doctor Who is dead.
Doctor Who's dead.
Yep.
Coronation Street finished out of the top 10, apparently, this past week. So, Coronation
Television
Street's
is dead. How about that?
Yeah, maybe Coronation Street is getting a little too woke now. What do you think of that?
Maybe this is punishment for pushing Doctor Who out of the limelight in the 80s.
Right? You killed Sylvester McCoy. You better kill it for good. And it didn't, obviously. Now Doctor Who's killing Coronation Street 40 years later.
Take that or something. I don't know.
Take that.
Well, it took a while, but they got there.
Yeah.
Michael Grade, thankfully, still alive to see it happen.
That's true.
I like how you're like, I'm glad that man's still alive so I can see vengeance.
That's right. This is actually available in the UK, in the United States and Canada and North America. The Daleks Blu-ray, which is coming out late February, I think. The artwork has come out for it, and there's the scene of the Doctor Who and crew in the TARDIS, and then some very rudely photoshopped Daleks are just plastered in there. Lee Binding didn't have anything to do with this cover, is what I'm being led to believe.
I don't think Lee would let such a travesty happen.
It's a very they had to show that it's in color. The TARDIS scene is probably the best angle with that, but we need to see some Daleks on the cover, and so they just thought, well, let's just photo some out. One of them's out of focus, like the woman walking away from the guy turning from his girlfriend to look at her in that meme. That's what basically that is what that Dalek is.
Sure.
Not good. It's not good. That's the one we'll get, the Steelbook one, which is just a Dalek on a steel
psychedelic Dalek. Is this a crossover with 60 Spider-Man? I think it is.
Either that or the Claws of Axos, maybe a little bit.
It'll be only the second Doctor Who release to hide a tab of acid inside the liner notes.
Only the second, you say?
True.
Only the second. Web Planet was the first one.
Web Planet was the first, because you have to drop that. Web Planet, which got like 13 million viewers back in 1965, folks. So just when you think
they wrote that Dalek hard.
It took weeks for them. Can you imagine being a kid back in 1965, having seen the Daleks disposed of on Boxing Day, this day in history in 1964, and then thinking that Daleks are coming back, at least for the next few weeks. I know that they're not in this one with Vicky and whoever that is. And they'll probably turn up in ancient Rome. No, they didn't turn up. That's right. They're going to this weird planet with bugs. They're going to turn up now. No, they didn't turn up here either. All right. The Space Museum. There they are. They're back. Yeah.
As a child of the 70s, I still do understand that feeling of waiting week after week and being disappointed. Like when, I wasn't a kid, I was a teenager, but when Best of Both Worlds Part 1, and they go, to be continued, you're like, I have to wait 3 months for this? What the hell?
I mean, there
which
are
seems like nothing now, but...
Yeah.
There are some saving graces, like in Unleashed, RTD talking about how he's been looking to get like a musical type thing into the show, and he just needed the right vector. And he was like, if it was Daleks,
like a disease,
it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, or Cybermen, it'd be silly. But if you create a new monster or villain, like one played by Jinx Monsoon, potentially, then you get
that
your
is
music
my.
episode.
That's just speculation on my part. I don't have nothing to back that up.
Jinx Monsoon, manager of the Beatles, keep it historically accurate.
Are you saying that that Jinx Monsoon kills Brian Epstein?
Possibly.
I'm saying Jinx Monsoon regenerated into Brian Epstein, or vice versa.
From Brian Epstein.
Or the other way around.
Jinx Monsoon is Alan Klein to break up the Beatles.
Does that make George Martin the scientific advisor of the Beatles?
George, yes, he does. Because he would have said, Ringo, do you want to use your usual kit that you own, or do you want to use this non-existent kit?
Never mind.
That you never played in your life?
I agree.
Did you watch? Did you watch Imagine Russell T Davies?
No, I did not.
Doctor and Me.
I haven't
had a chance yet. No.
It was great. It was a 75-minute documentary on BBC Four. It's on iPlayer, and it was superb. And Alan Yentop, who was controller of BBC One or something back in the mid '90s and such. Chris, you were wondering, like, would he chastise him? Russell T Davies chastise him? And literally the first scene, when he walks into the BBC offices and there's a Dalek there, and RTD goes, "Oh well, look, if it isn't the most vile creature in the universe, and a Dalek." So he
Nice.
He got it out right away. Very interesting documentary. They talked to Ncuti Gatwa a little bit, and David Tennant and other people. They look this whole career about writing, and it was really, really well done. A lot of the interview took place in the TARDIS set, as you saw there, but they also went to Russell D Davies' home in Swansea, where he lives.
On the page on the BBC website, there's a few clips linked to the bottom where you see things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So if you have a chance to watch it, folks, wherever you are, it was a very worthy watch. I don't know if that's ever going to show up on a DVD anywhere or anything like that, but it was very, very good. So
probably not. No.
Yeah. So,
but it's there for a year on iPlayer for those with access. Take a trip to Britain to watch it if you must.
Yeah,
legally,
it's
that's
easy.
the only avenue you have open to you.
It's easy and cheap, and everyone can afford just random flights to Britain.
Not to mention the pandemic might be coming back. Who knows?
That too, yeah. Just a few other things before we get the hell out of here. There's a great article by RFS listener Stephen Lepetak in the Adweek talking about the whole marketing of Doctor Who and how it's about to enter a new dimension. It's very interesting, looking at who's marketing it and like the 12-member team of it who's putting stuff out. I mean, we have endless stuff to talk about every single week on this show now since RTD has sort of come back. So it's kind of cool to see it so much in the public eye. Also in the show notes, radiofreescott.com, there's a story about the Deadline reporting about how Bad Wolf got a $54 million boost in production to make the BBC sci-fi series Doctor Who. So that was kind of cool as well. And also, this is like a week ago, so it seems like a little bit old, but rare photos from the production of The Mind of Evil have been uncovered after like 50-odd years of being hidden just behind the scenes of some shots from behind the scenes with the Dr. Joe, feigning attacks from The Mind of Evil, nice shots of Roger Delgado and stuff, Katie Manning there, of course. Little publicity shots that never really found the light of day and were never used, but were sitting in in some file folder or something from the photographer who took them. So it was kind of cool to see some of those old photos again. But we had with some sad news on Christmas Day, the morning of Christmas Day. Richard Franklin, who of course played Captain Yates in the 1970s in Doctor Who, died at the age of 87. I didn't realize he was 87. I didn't realize he was that old, actually. I liked Captain Yates. He was, initially brought in to be the love interest for Joe Grant, and that
wound up more being the love interest for Sergeant Benton.
Sergeant Benton, a little bit, possibly.
What I love is that photo where that dinosaur is far more realistic than the ones in the actual episode.
Well, it comes from the BBC website that we're using on the live stream here, yeah. I interviewed Richard Franklin way back on Radio Free Skaro episode 297 at Gallifrey One when he was a guest there. So Katie Manning had just visited him on Friday, so he was.
She posted a picture of them together from his care home. Yeah.
So very sad, but yeah, our unit family is diminishing. So on that note, that's it. That's it for this episode. We'll have one more episode this calendar year because Sunday is December 31st, which means it's New Year's Eve. We'll finally after years of planning, fingers crossed. Ward says there's going to be an in-person
every
recording.
Uber explodes in the city.
Yeah,
simultaneously.
Of RFS will be next week, and then the new year will be back to doing the same old crap while we wait for Doctor Who. You know how this goes. So that's how it's going to be. So until next time, everyone. I am Stephen in Edmonton,
Warren in Edmonton,
and Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.